You know, it's been a year since that horrible fire in Fairmount, so we have a very special guest with us this morning.
The U.S. Fire Administrator is here in our city, and because, like we mentioned, that horrible fire incident that happened a year ago, and it left so many people, their hearts filled with grief for the victims' family members.
We missed them so much, so much. Everybody missed them so much. This whole year has just been so crazy without them.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Over there in Fairmount.
And even though it happened here in Philly, I mean, it really touched hearts across the nation, what happened in Fairmount inside that home.
We learned this at the same time. The chance of dying in a fire is higher today than it was 40 years ago. Now, why would that be? So, U.S. Fire Administrator Dr. Lori Moore-Merrel has worked on national fire strategy for years now, for decades, working and researching fire safety. And didn't you start as an EMT yourself?
I did. I was a paramedic with Memphis Fire Department back in the late 80s.
Ground up, you've been studying this.
Yes, sir. Yes, we do have, across the country now, just in 2022, 1.2 million structure fires across this country, 2,500 fire deaths. 276 of those were children, not to mention the least of which was here in Philly, and then 96 firefighters just in 2022.
Why is it worse now than 40 years ago?
So what we're seeing today is fire is fast, and that's what we talk about. Fire is fast. The items that we have to burn. So we're using a lot more lightweight construction, which means even some of the drywall materials have been aerated in your home, right? So they're much lighter. They burn much faster. Also the contents. We have a lot of plastics. We have a lot of foams in our furniture. Just think about the lightweightness of the furniture today. And so all of those things burn really fast. And so it gives you much less time to escape. And so your likelihood of dying in a fire today is much greater than it was even 40 years ago.
When you mention the time and you say fire is fast, I mean, this is the timeline, and it shows how many minutes do you have?
Very few. Very few. And we often talk about fire being everyone's fight, and that is true because we need people, individuals, to look at their home, understand where you live. If they're fire-prone type attributes of your home, right? If you don't have a working smoke alarm, for example, you don't have self-closing doors if you're in a multifamily facility. These are the kinds of things that buy some time. If you don't have sprinklers in the building, and many of our building stock today, particularly in public housing, HUD tells us that we've got well over 500,000 of multifamily structures that were built prior to the 1992 Fire Safety Act, which means many of them have not been retrofitted with the required fire safety mechanisms in them.
How in the heck do you test a sprinkler system? I mean, you can't turn it on.
Well, you want to know that the heads are there, right? It's important that you see the heads, the sprinkler heads in the ceilings. As I said, a lot of our multifamily homes, or even in public housing, that may be one or two families, that you have working smoke alarms. This is a vital way to escape. And I know that the Philadelphia Fire Department is very active at making sure that communities' homes have these working smoke alarms. And so many of them come that are in case where you can't remove the battery, and that's the best kind. But many of them still have removable batteries, so you're going to need to change the batteries. The key is don't remove them. If you have a cooking fire, a lot of us, you'll have a little smoke, right? And you'll go take it out because the smoke alarm will go off. Put them back if you do that, because this is your first mechanism to buy you some time to get out.
It starts chirping and you get irritated and you take the battery out and then put another one back in.
And now you're early alert. Don't do that.
And you mentioned how great our Philadelphia Fire Department is and how brave and courageous our firefighters are. But also the fact is a lot of fire departments are dealing with personnel shortages. They need more firefighters.
Absolutely. We're seeing a recruitment problem across the country. We're looking for ways to get beyond that. And so one of the things that we're announcing, even as part of being here today, is looking at a national fire strategy. Part of that is looking at a better recruitment program, even an apprenticeship program nationwide. And so as the fire service, we're standing together, not only the USFA, but also with our national partners, our national organizations, and their heads. So we are all here today to stand with one voice and talk about a national fire strategy. Recruitment is part of that.
Why aren't people want to be firefighters?
You know, we're looking at a lot of things, whether, I mean, we're like others, law enforcement's experiencing the same kind of recruitment, right, issues. And so we're looking at whether or not is it generationally driven type thing for
Could be.
public service, understanding public safety. And so we have to reach and look, because the generations, we've got Gen Z coming up and they want to be servants, right? They want to volunteer. They want to do things in their communities. And so we need to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Some of it may be that we need to change how we're doing our training, how we are attracting people into the service. And so it is an exciting time, but a lot of work ahead.
Thank you for what you do, and thanks for stopping in Philly.
Yes,
When
of
will the
course.
announcement be then? Later today, right?
Later today. So yeah, 10, we're gathering this morning over at one of the stations, and we're going to spend some time here with your commissioner. We're going to mourn with the families from the Fairmont fire,
sure.
and we're going to stand here with Philly and say, enough, right? We need to do better. And now you have a lot of fire here, and so we want to curtail the amount of fire, but certainly the fire deaths in this city.
What firehouse you going to?
Engine 8.
8?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Close.
Yeah,
close
not
by.
far at all.
All right. Thank you for
Thank
stopping
you.
here.
Thank you for having us.
got it.